What up, gang? Line Carolina Jackpot time coming at you on Friday morning. I hope everybody's doing good today. I'm up and at 'em early once again today and ready for another weekend of college football. This is week number 8. I know it's cliche to say so, but it seems like it was week 1 just yesterday. It really does. It's flown by this year, and we've been having a lot of fun, been a lot of great games this year, and look forward to many more throughout the rest of the season. So if you're new around here, consider staying true around here. Subscribe to this channel. Also, please, if you enjoy the content here, please hit this video with a thumbs up. It helps Carolina Jackpot out tremendously in the YouTube algorithm. And, well, I don't know. They say it's good. So please hit the thumbs up. Anyway, I wanted to talk about several games today that I have not necessarily, any action on other than in our little contest, but they're kind of marquee matchups, and I want to give my 2 cents on these particular games. We did a live show on Wednesday night. I did it by myself there, and we had fun. We had some calls, and that live show is not up right now currently, to where you can go back and look at it. I don't know. I asked Rob about that, about editing out a particular portion of that video, and I don't know. He said he was going to try to do it or something. But anyway, for some reason it's not visible right now, so I don't know if he's taking it down and put it in the studio or what. But if not, I'm going to try to recover it because it was a good call-in show. Somebody called in and hit the N-bomb like an idiot about halfway through the show, which really, it pisses me off. And I mean, I don't know what you're trying to do, if you're trying to be a keyboard warrior type internet warrior, but you're not, look, you're not offending anybody, any people of color who watch that and hear you call in and do that. They're not like getting all up in arms and pissed off about it. They just think you're an idiot. The real person you're hurting is Carolina Jackpot, because I can no longer play that video. You put me at risk by doing things like that. So don't do that. That is a word you don't use on the internet, period. End of story. Anyway, moving on to these games. Alabama on the road at Tennessee. That one is on Saturday afternoon. Alabama's currently favored by 3 points. Of course, Tennessee won 2 years ago in Knoxville. Very, very high scoring affair there with Hendon Hooker at quarterback. Actually vaulted Tennessee into the #1 national ranking after they won that game. Now we see a lot of changes there, especially in terms of at Alabama. Namely, Nick Saban is no longer the head coach, and I think we can see that has kind of made a difference in the way they prepare for games, in the way that they come out and execute the game plan. This is not necessarily a get-right spot for Kalen DeBoer, because they did win last week, knocking off my Gamecocks 27-25 in a game that it was a good game coming down to the end. If you like drama, if you like sitting on the edge of your seat. Not so much if you like, I don't know, great play. Now, we did see some big-time players step up and make some big-time plays. We saw Nick Harbor step up, make a nice catch, get one toe down in the end zone for a touchdown. But then we turned around and saw Lenore Sellers and Rocket Sanders not be able to hand the ball off to each other correctly. And we were in week 7, and just a stupid fumble. Field goal kicker misses a 51-yard kick, misses it badly too, leaves it way short and wide right for the Gamecocks. Of course, Alabama, Jalen Milroe comes down. They answer the Gamecocks, score would have went ahead. Touchdown pass to Jeremy Bernard, but then we saw Jalen Milroe intentionally ground the ball in the end zone for a safety. Jalen Milroe throw a near pick 6 at the end of the first half. So a lot of mistakes there on both sides of the ball need to be cleaned up. That's got to be concerning if you're Alabama going into that game. However, I still think that Alabama's an elite team. I think they've just had their head in their ass. I think this week they get right. I think Kalen DeBoer's probably faced a lot of pressure this week, probably a lot of scrutiny from ex-Alabama players, big-time Alabama donors, basically everybody in the state of Alabama. Hey, what's going on here? Why are we losing to Vanderbilt? Why are we losing to South Carolina? Why do we not look like the same team anymore when we look like the same team against Georgia, especially in the first half, when we look like the same team against Wisconsin when we went on the road and steamrolled them, look like the same team against Eastern Kentucky or Western Kentucky, beat them 73-0, whatever it was. So I still like Alabama in the spot. I think overall they have the more talented roster. I think they have the better quarterback at this time. Now, notice I said at this time, Tennessee man, so don't come at me with the whole Nico stuff. He's still a first-year starter, still got a lot to learn. He'll progress a lot between this year and next year. But right now, in terms of decision-making, in terms of delivering the ball, getting it where it needs to be, and taking command of an offense, I still trust Jalen Milroe right now more than I trust Nico. So I'm going to lay the points with Alabama here. I think they win this game and cover it. And Tennessee's ticket to the college football playoff is pretty much, you'll have 2 losses here, which means you'll have to win out after this, which includes a trip to Georgia, which is your most difficult game remaining on your schedule. That's going to be tough to win. You've got a home game against Kentucky, which in the preseason I picked Kentucky to win. I'm not so sure about that anymore. They haven't looked especially great this year. And then you got the road game against Vanderbilt, which is, Vanderbilt definitely beat you. I don't know that they would be favored today, but my gosh, they're doing some really good things. So give me Alabama here. I believe Tennessee takes their second loss in this game, unfortunately. Kentucky on the road at Florida. Kentucky is a 1 to 1.5 point favorite on the road at Florida. I don't care what Kentucky's done this year. I know they got blown out by the Gamecocks. I know they lost to Vanderbilt last week at home. But this is a very strange team this year. And it's usually not like that with Kentucky. They're usually more consistent. And then they almost beat Georgia 13-12. Some dumb decision making at the end cost them that game. They go on the road. They beat Ole Miss when they're a top 10 team. After Ole Miss has just been absolutely crushing people the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, Kentucky goes on the road and beats them. So you have that in terms of good things with Kentucky, and then with Florida, they've got that nice win over UCF. Really? What else do they do? They're sitting here at 3-3. Got to win over McNeese State. Got to win over Mississippi State, whom everybody beats. And they looked good defensively against Tennessee last week for most of the game. But for most of it doesn't count. You weren't able to pull the win out. I don't trust Billy Napier anymore to cover or win a game. So I'm going to take Kentucky in this game straight up. I think they go to Gainesville and get the win. Florida might just be a dead body walking right now. Because how can you've already lost 2 games in your building this year in the swamp. You don't lose a lot of games in the swamp, and you've gotten blown out in both of them. Really, you got beaten by Texas A&M. I think it was by 13 points, but that game was not really that close. And then you got blown out by the U to open the season. I think you take another loss here at home to Kentucky. Another interesting game, Clemson at home against Virginia. Well, wait a minute. Before I do that, I want to talk about Georgia and Texas first. Georgia catching 5 on the road at Texas. I was going back and forth on this one. This one's kind of, everybody's struggling with this one. Is Texas for real? Yes, we know they're definitely for real. The question is Georgia for real? Is the Georgia failing to cover spreads against Mississippi State and Auburn? Is them just playing them playing with their food thing just kind of one of those things that happens to good teams and they'll bounce back and be okay and they're still elite, or is it showing some cracks in the foundation? Maybe a little bit lacking in the secondary, maybe a little bit lacking in the discipline department. We'll find out on Saturday. This is going to be your biggest test so far. Now, I was listening to one of these people from Las Vegas who does a podcast, one of these handicappers, and talking about how Georgia shut down Clemson at the beginning of the year and how great Clemson's offense has looked since then. Is that showing how dominant the Georgia defense actually is? Because Clemson is such a good team that they could go out and shut them down and have only scored 3 points on them. Whatever. Georgia's a little bit too Jekyll and Hyde for me, but their back is against the wall here, and I think they cover that 5 points. I think this is a field goal type game, and I think that the nod to me goes to Texas with the home field advantage, but I certainly think that this is another one that could be another classic, such as the Georgia-Alabama game was, in which Georgia comes back from a 30-7 deficit at halftime and takes the lead late in the ball game, and then Alabama answers and wins the game. This game could be something like that. Texas is just a very balanced team. Good offensively, good defensively. It's hard to find a lot of weaknesses there. But give me Georgia to cover that 5-point line. That's a weird line. This seems like a field goal type game to me. Clemson versus Virginia. This is another one I'm talking about. Clemson is 21-point favorite at home against UVA. Now, I've just been blindly betting them to cover games the past few weeks. Something made me stop on this one. Something about UVA, I don't know. Something about UVA just tells me that this game has the potential to be close. Maybe it's because they have a good offense, they can actually move the ball. They got a quarterback, Calandria, who's done some really good things, been kind of erratic at times. But what I'm looking at also in terms of just from a spread perspective is if Clemson is up in this ball game, Dabo facing former co-offensive coordinator Tony Elliott, does he pull the starters maybe a little bit earlier than what he normally does because he doesn't want to run the score up on Tony Elliott? Or does he get up on them by 21, 28 points and then pull the starters and, the second team quarterback fumbles and Virginia gets an easy score, or the second or third team defense allows an easy touchdown, something like that, and then we see cover from kind of a backdoor type of perspective, because we've seen them do that. I think Clemson was up like 59-14 or maybe 59-7 on NC State. I mean, they were absolutely crushing them. If they let them come all the way back to make the final score 59-35 to make it look like NC State hung with them for a while, if you were just looking at a box score and you didn't know, how the scoring panned out or even watch the game. So, to me, I want to lay the points with Virginia here. I think they can keep this thing in a 14 to 17 point range. an upset. It seems very unlikely. I mean, this is almost, I'd say it's almost like Vandy beating Alabama. Maybe not quite, but Clemson's just been rolling this year. I think they're going to continue to win these games against, and this is not taffy ACC competition. This one, Virginia's a little bit better than an NC State. They're a little bit better than a Wake Forest or a Stanford, but not much. The second half of Clemson's ACC schedule, which is coming up, which includes road games against Virginia Tech and Pitt, and a home tussle with Louisville, who's, granted, looked kind of disappointing to me this year and failed to live up to the hype once again, as per usual, is much tougher than the first half of their ACC schedule was. So give me Virginia, the Wahoos. Give me some of that Wahoo-wah to cover here in this game. Gamecocks going on the road, taking on Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a 1.5-point favorite in Norman, Oklahoma right now. I think the total for this game is around 41. And I think South Carolina's offense gets discredited and disrespected a little bit. They've made some plays. They've also made a lot of mistakes. We still see some offensive line issues, still see some play calling issues, still see some execution issues and turnovers. I think Lenoris from the quarterback position has done some good things. He actually has a higher completion percentage rate than Nico. And he's, in the upper half of the SEC in terms of that. But in terms of turnovers, he's the number one quarterback in the country as far as giving the ball away. Not good. He's also taken a ton of sacks. Not all his fault, some his fault, though, for holding on to the ball too long. But some of that's on the offensive line. You should be able to hold your blocks a little bit longer than that. This one I struggled. I went back and forth with a lot. But Oklahoma is banged up. They don't have hardly a healthy receiver out there. Now, somebody will probably come from out of nowhere that you've never heard of on Saturday and, have like 150 yards receiving. I doubt that's going to happen. I expect this Michael Hawkins guy will keep getting starts for them. I think Jackson Arnold must be about done in terms of from a running the offense perspective. Yeah, Oklahoma's defense is really good. South Carolina's defense is really good too. And the thing I think is the tipping point in this game, Oklahoma has a new and a not very good offensive line. I think that South Carolina is going to be able to get after their quarterback, whoever it is, and maybe force him into some mistakes. With this Hawkins guy, he's a runner. I don't know that you're going to get a lot of sacks on him and get him on the ground like you were with Jalen Milroe. But I think you can at least get enough pressure, disrupt things a little bit to kind of force Oklahoma off their game plan, whatever that game plan may be. Because, lately, to speak quite frank, it doesn't look like they've had much of one. So, I went back and forth, but I finally settled on, I think the Gamecocks win this game, and I think Shane Beamer gets a huge win. And another thing here in terms of motivation, the only thing that you've really got in this game is Shane Beamer used to be an assistant coach here years ago, and Brent Venables was the OC at Clemson, and he played South Carolina and beat them a bunch. Never lost to them. Other than that, maybe he did lose to them once. I think he did. Maybe he did, maybe twice. Now that I think about it. Other than that, like the fans, are your fans going to be really into this game? I mean, you're playing an SEC team that you've never played before. You don't really have any kind of history with. Yes, Oklahoma has been in a different conference than Mizzou for a while, but they used to be in the same conference. They have history together. I think Oklahoma's probably played LSU in bowl games and stuff. They have a little history together. Oklahoma's played Alabama before. There's a little history there. But there is no history with South Carolina whatsoever. So I think this crowd may be dead ass. Now, I may be dead ass wrong on that. They may come, pack the stadium out, and be fired up as hell. I don't really know what their traditions are other than running onto the field with that little house on the prairie wagon that they be marching out there with. Those horses run out every Saturday, pulling that thing out. I wonder if they show on the field ever. They probably got a bag behind them, so they do that. Remember when it fell over that day? Good Lord. I think South Carolina wins this game. And I'm not saying that because I'm a homer. I look at it from the point of view that South Carolina has been this close 2 times, knocking off a couple of what now top 10 teams. LSU wasn't at the time, but they are now. And I think they know their season's at a crossroads. They know this is a winnable game. And I think they go out and do it. I just think they have a little bit more positive energy right now around the program, even though they've suffered a couple of crippling losses. That being said, Oklahoma could easily win this game too. It's a road game. Yes, South Carolina has played a little better on the road this year. That's not generally always the case. I heard the comment made that South Carolina always plays better on the road. No, they don't. Go back last year and look at the game against Missouri. Go back last year and look at the game at A&M. Go back and look at any number of, Clemson games in the past and tell me they've played better on the road. They have not always played better on the road. They have this year. They've been more competitive. That said, South Carolina can't beat this team. I don't know that you win another SEC game. And that's disappointing because you've got games coming up at home against Mizzou, who I desperately want to see us beat. Not that I have any hate for Mizzou. It's just that, you haven't beaten this team since 2018. It's time to level up. They're not that, they have not been in the past that good. Now they are pretty good. They were really good last year. I think they've taken a step back this year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And their offense just looks kind of clunky, like it really hasn't gotten going yet. Now, they've made some chunk plays. I'm not going to say that they haven't, but against really good competition, they've looked clunky. They look clunky against A&M. They look clunky against Vanderbilt in their conference games. Playing UMass and Southeast Missouri State, they look like a juggernaut, as normal. So that's one I desperately want to win. Then you got the road game against Vanderbilt. Protect the streak. Protect the streak, and Vanderbilt is a team that can be beaten. They're going to give up some points to you. Thing is, you guys have, you know what kind of offense they run, you know what kind of quarterback and player Pavia is. By this point in time, you've got enough of this team on film to be able to scheme up some kind of defense to keep them at bay at some point, and also to be able to score some points on them. So I think that's a winnable game too, but if you don't win this one, I don't think you do, because I think that players realize your back is up against it, and they might just mail it in. They really might. Young folks do that sometimes. They're not going to compete, be hard. We think college football for the fans, it goes by really quickly, unless you're a fan of a shitty team, and then it takes forever. It feels like Major League Baseball season just drags on and on and on and on. But if you're just a fan and you've got a team that's doing pretty good, college football season feels like Christmas break. don't it? I mean, it feels like it goes by that quickly. So there's that. Anyway, guys, let me know down in the comment section below what you think about some of these games. If there are any other ones that you're interested in, and any other ones that strike your fancy. As far as upset picks, like straight up upsets, I think that Georgia Tech has an outside shot at knocking off Notre Dame, just by virtue of the way they've been playing. And Notre Dame has looked pretty impressive of late. It might be time for them to kind of shit the bed, because it seems like they do it every year. And maybe this year they did it early against Northern Illinois, and they were able to clean up the shit and put some new fresh bed sheets down, and they're going to continue to sleep on them all year long. I don't know. Speaking of Mizzou, I also have a sneaky suspicion with this not Arkansas. Wow, man, I fuck up some team names, don't I? This Auburn-Mizzou matchup. In the offseason, we looked at that one, and people thought that might be a toss-up game, but that's when they thought Auburn was going to overachieve and be a really good team. They haven't been a really good team. They've had some quarterback issues, but Mizzou's had some defensive issues too. And this might be kind of a game where they could possibly figure some things out. I don't know. I just look at that one, and something tells me something weird's going to happen there, and Auburn has a really good chance to win that football game. But that's just me. I may just be a dumbass, just spewing off nonsense. But what I'm saying may also hold some merit. So keep that in the back of your head. Anyway, I will see you guys later on. I appreciate it. Hit the thumbs up on this video, please. It's been another long one. That's what he said. Anyway, I'll see y'all later. Peace. I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks.